Hello dear World of Warcraft friends, welcome back to a new video on my channel. We are in the second season of World of Warcraft Midnight and there was also a somewhat larger class tuning on Wednesday. In addition, the top Mythic Plus player Petco has revised his tier list because of this class tuning. At this point, we just want to take a look at how things are looking at the start of the season. Which specs are currently strong and which ones are not. I'll show you all of that in this video. We'll go through everything together. And yes, if you want, feel free to leave a like and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. And with that, let's get into the video. As I already mentioned, all of this comes from the player Petco. Said the guy who with multiple characters ultimately hits top 1 and I think even top 0.1. So the dude really knows what he's talking about. And the first thing we see here in the S tier is Arcane Mage, Arms Warrior, Holy Paladin, Resto Shaman, Outlaw Rogue, and Windwalker Monk. Here, the complete class tuning that went live on Wednesday is already included. So all buffs and nerfs and so on are already factored in, I'll put it that way. And that, for example, also led to the Blood Death Knight, who was previously in the S tier here, is no longer in there now, because in the end Blood Decay got nerfed again, especially when it comes to damage. So we don't see it there anymore. It's to be expected, or let's say it's very, very likely that 1, 2, or 3 of these specs could still get nerfed. For example, Arms Warrior looks insanely overpowered at the moment, so expect there to be more changes there. Then we have the A+ tier, and there are really a lot of classes in here. Elemental Shaman, Assassination Rogue are included. And just like Assassination, the third rogue spec, Subtlety, is in there too. So all rogue specs are currently S or A+ tier. I don't think we've seen that in a long time. Unholy is included. The Boomkin is included. Retribution Paladin is included. New Mage is included. Enhancement Shaman as well. He also got some more damage buffs with Wednesday's patch. As I just said, Blood Death Knight got knocked down. And then we also have Protection Paladin. Tank, Demon Hunter, and Bear Tank. So, 4 tanks are in the A+ tier here. And that could really lead to that we will have a very tight meta. So at the current point in time, it's very, very difficult to say which will definitely be the meta spec. It also depends a bit on what further tuning looks like, but as of now we have many tanks that can definitely be good. Other than that, the A tier is really packed, and here too you can see we have a lot of specs in the A and A+ tier. That means if everything turns out this way, the balance between the classes is really very close. Evoker here has improved quite a bit compared to patch 4 and is now included here. Havoc Demon Hunter, there were a few more nerfs there. It was toned down. We also saw the Feral Druid drop down. After adjustments, Destruction Warlock and Frost Death Knight have also moved down. So you don't need to have any S tier ambitions there in the future either. We have Shadow Priest, Demonology Warlock, Havoc Demon Hunter, Fury Warrior, Fire Mage, and Augmentation Evoker included. So that's also quite interesting. The spec was either very, very hard to judge up until then, or it didn't really look all that good. Now, a lot suggests it'll be pretty good again, even if not as OP as before. Prot Warrior is included, and so is Mistweaver Monk. Here too, it looked like one of the best healers before, but then it got heavily nerfed in both damage and healing. But let me put it this way, and you always have to keep this in mind. Meta specs are really only important for people like the top 0.1% who are pushing for that. We saw that among the top 0.1% of the best players, some specs weren't represented because they just weren't strong enough for that. But for most players, by that I mean 99% of players, it really doesn't matter what they play. Play what you enjoy. And even then, as things currently stand, these specs are really very close to each other. In the B tier we have the Affliction Warlock. So that's a spec that has also dropped down or slipped down. As I said, we had a lot of nerfs, class tuning adjustments and tier set adjustments. In the end, that affected the FLE lock. Frost Mage is included, Marksmanship Hunter and Survival Hunter as well. For Hunters, as things currently stand, it's not a good tier since none of the specs are really strong right now. So personally, I do expect some adjustments so that at least one Hunter spec gets a bit better. Brewmaster is included as well, here too. With the new patch, he still does really strong damage, at least pretty good damage. But defensively, he's just not as good as the other tank specs. Holy Priest has moved up and the Druid here has moved up. They round out the B tier. And then we come to the last tier, that's the C tier. There are only 3 specs in there. Beastmaster Hunter, which I find very unfortunate. That's the one I leveled most recently, but we'll most likely play it anyway. I'm looking forward to it. Devastation Evoker is also included. Right now, it doesn't look good at all. And the Disc Priest. That one took quite a hit recently as well. I mean, yeah. Blizzard has changed how it works, or rather they've drastically reduced the disc's damage. Although the healing from Atonement was increased, it's not enough to compensate for everything. On top of that, they've done some further tuning again. That was added afterwards, this reflect damage that you could get through a talent for Power Word Cheat was also nerfed again. And yeah, all in all, that means that the disc is, for the first time in a long while, apparently the worst, or, well, what does worst even mean? It seems to be the weakest healer on paper. Well, let's see how things develop. I'll keep you updated. We know for sure there will be at least 3 more class tunings. So let's wait and see for now. Thank you very much for watching, see you in the next video, have a good time and take care.